What's going on, Colts fans? Welcome to today's episode of Colts Latest. I am your host, Scott Reiman, coming to you from sunny San Rafael, California, here in the San Francisco Bay Area. Before we get started today, as always, got to give a huge thanks to FanArch. Without them, I would not be able to do what I love, which is talking Colts with all of y'all. Please go to their website, fanarch.com, and check out the great content they offer, not only on NFL, but MLB, NBA, NCAA, sports card collecting, wrestling, UFC, Olympics, you name it, they cover it. If you like what I'm showing you here also, please do me a huge favor. Like this video, subscribe to the Colts Latest channel. These views, likes, and subscriptions are how FanArch is able to keep putting out the content that they do, and I love doing this, so thank you everyone for all of the support. Now we're going to finish our early draft preview by looking at the two picks the Colts have in the 7th round and what players they might target with those picks. They got an extra pick towards the end of the round thanks to a compensatory pick they received for losing E.J. Speed last offseason. Now, as with the 6th round, we're going to look at players who might provide depth at positions that aren't as big of a need as those they'll address in the earlier rounds, such as wide receiver, offensive line, and safety. Obviously, how things go over the next several weeks in free agency are going to determine what positions the Colts might target for depth in the late rounds. But with the future uncertain at the wide receiver position, the possible release of Michael Pittman Jr., the uncertainty surrounding the future of Alec Pierce, and Josh Downs and Ashton Dulin both becoming free agents after next season, I would not be shocked to see the Colts use at least one late pick on a wide receiver. Also, with Braden Smith likely to leave in free agency and uncertainty on the right side of the offensive line, it also would not be a surprise to see the Colts add some line depth in a round where value can usually be had for offensive linemen. Finally, with Nick Cross, a free agent who may get priced out of the Colts' range, drafting a safety in the 7th round is also in the realm of possibilities. So here are a few guys who could provide some sneaky 7th round value at those positions. One wide receiver who's seen his stock rise from most likely going undrafted to appearing on mock draft boards is 6 foot, 190-pound speedster Vinny Anthony II from my alma mater, the University of Wisconsin. Now, Anthony had a very strong Senior Bowl week, grading higher than any receiver on the national team during drills. In fact, the only wide receiver on the American team, if you're not familiar, those are the two teams for the Senior Bowl, the national team and the American team. The only wide receiver on the American team who rated higher than Anthony was projected first-round pick Malachi Fields from Notre Dame. Now, that strong week of practice was enough to earn Anthony a trip to the Combine where he could improve his draft stock even further. Now, you cannot look at this guy's college stats. He was plagued with inferior quarterback play and a stagnant pass offense throughout his time at Wisconsin. Trust me, it was ugly. But the guy is a speedy deep threat, and though he doesn't have the size that Alec Pierce does, he could replace him eventually as a downfield threat should Pierce move on in free agency. At the very least, he'd be worth a look with one of the Colts' 7th round picks should they decide that bolstering the wide receiver depth is a priority with all of the uncertainty and all of the Colts receivers' free agency after the next season. And Chris Ballard has also shown an affinity for drafting Badgers, with Jonathan Taylor and Tanner Bortolini both holding down starting roles on the offense, with Hunter Wohler looking to return at safety from a rookie season lost to injury. Vinny Anthony could become just another Badger contributor on this team. Another position of uncertainty heading into 2026 is the right side of the offensive line. And the Colts went with Matt Gonzalez at right guard and impending free agent Braden Smith at right tackle until Smith got hurt in Week 14 and the Colts turned to rookie Jalen Travis for the remainder of the season. They like what they saw from Travis, probably enough to let Braden walk in free agency. But that's still going to leave them with some depth questions on the right side of the line, and I imagine they will address this position most likely in the later rounds where, as I mentioned, good value can be found for offensive line depth. Now, one player who might be on the board who can step in and provide that necessary depth is 6'6", 327-pound Alex Harkey, who played right tackle for the University of Oregon. Harkey was a solid run blocker for Oregon in 2025, showing size and strength at the point of attack, a necessary trait in a Jonathan Taylor-focused offense. He struggled a bit against stronger competition, and his pass blocking could use some more development in the NFL, but he has the size and the strength to develop into a usable piece on the offensive line. In addition, he can play both guard and tackle in the NFL, and with the Colts potentially moving Gonzalez to tackle if they lose Braden Smith and don't feel Jalen Travis is ready to be a full-time starter, that kind of versatility could come in handy. It never hurts to have too much versatile depth on the offensive line, guys who can play multiple positions. Danny Pinter was one of those guys who's a free agent. Maybe they bring him back for some offensive line depth too. He can play center, he can play guard. That kind of versatility really goes a long way on an offensive line. All right, the final player we are going to look at in our draft preview is 6'2", 213-pound safety Xavier Nwankpa from the University of Iowa. Now, Nick Cross is a free agent, and it's uncertain whether or not the Colts will be able to afford to bring him back. They do have second-year safety Hunter Wohler, as I mentioned, coming back from a Lisfranc foot injury that cost him his entire rookie season, and the Colts really liked what they saw from him during preseason last year. And all that said, safety might be a position that the Colts are looking to add depth to in the late rounds of the draft. Nwankpa was an absolute beast in high school, totaling 16 interceptions and being selected to play in the 2022 All-American Bowl. He was a 5-star recruit, the highest-rated recruit to ever commit to the University of Iowa, which is where he's from. He played in 12 games as a true freshman, earning his first start in the Music City Bowl, where he returned an interception for a touchdown. He returned as a starter his sophomore year, and he was named third-team All-Big Ten in 2025 as a senior when he posted a career-high 76 tackles, 2 forced fumbles, and 1 interception. Look, I know we're scraping the bottom of the barrel here on draft prospects, but these 7th-round picks have to be used on someone, and value can be found in the 7th round. Some successful 7th-round picks include Jordan Mailata, a Super Bowl champion offensive tackle with the Eagles, wide receiver Donald Driver, who was part of several strong Packers offenses, Marquez Colston, a consistent wide receiver for the Saints for years, Julian Edelman, who we all know is a key wide receiver as part of the Patriots dynasty, Bo Jackson, who could have been one of the greatest running backs of all time if not for his injury, Shannon Sharp, a Hall of Fame tight end who was one of the best to ever play at his position, and most recently, Brock Purdy, 49ers quarterback who was taken as Mr. Irrelevant with the last pick of the 2022 draft. So the possibility of drafting a franchise player in the 7th round is there, albeit very unlikely. Regardless, the Colts aren't looking for a franchise player in the 7th round. They're looking for depth pieces who can possibly contribute down the line. Remember, a lot of what we've prognosticated here is subject to change depending on who the Colts bring back of their own free agents and what free agents they sign from other teams. We'll definitely revisit the draft as the Colts pre-draft roster begins to fill out, but it's fun to look at these things while we wait for the offseason to kick into gear. Now, barring any breaking news that we'll need to cover, tomorrow we're going to get into who the Colts might be able to target in free agency on offense. These are most likely going to be depth pieces, but there could be some players out there who the Colts can afford that will be able to contribute next season. All right, thank you so much for watching. As always, please don't forget to go to fanarch.com and check out all their amazing content. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the Colts Latest channel, and let's go Colts!